Hi, everyone or no one. It's so embarrassing and weird. Um, Welcome to Poets in Pajamas. Um, yeah. I think I'm supposed to wait for a couple minutes so people show up, maybe. Um, my name is Ananda. Yeah. These are my pajamas. I was looking at the past poets in pajamas, and I noticed not everybody was in pajamas, or maybe the pajamas are really, you can use them in the street too. But I was like, no, I'm gonna wear my pajamas for my poets in pajamas. Um, Somebody came in. And then I was like, putting a little bit of makeup and stuff. And my husband's like, "You're gonna wear your makeup with your pajamas?" But I'm like, yes. So I'm going to wait for a couple minutes. Hey, Sam. It works. um, nice. And then I'm going to be reading some poems. And then I'm talking to you guys for a little bit. Nice. All right. Nice. So I'm in a living room. Yay. I'm in the living room now because, I put my kid in the bath. And I told my husband to keep him there so he doesn't make any noise. Hopefully that's going to work. Um, yeah. And I'm going to wonder. Yeah. um, Yeah, so I first saw this series, I think it was Tiana's video, and I saw it after the fact. I didn't see the day she broadcasted it, and it was so wonderful. And I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And here I am today, poets in pajamas. Hey, Andy. All right. Ah, Kristen, my former almost roommate. It's funny. Yeah. So, um, do people start on time for these things? Sam? 7:01. Should I start reading or should I wait a little more? Sam, if you have any input. But if you don't, it's okay. All right. And how is everything, Kristen? I haven't seen you so long. Hope I see you soon. But it's good to see you here. Or your name, anyways. All right. One comment. Oh, I see. Hi, Ruby. Oh, it's so good. Yay! You should come visit me here. You can stay in this couch or on a proper bed. um, yeah. Or you can come visit me as phone even. All right, another comment. Oh yeah, that's nice. Should I? I don't know. In live readings, we don't start on time, right? So maybe I'll chat. But then it's like I'm just chatting to myself, which is weird. All right. I've never done one of these live things before. Um, my husband and I, we got married in Vegas, and part of the package was video, but it was and photographs, part of the, I don't know, Love Chapel package or something. And then the photographs photographer turned out to be some guy with a point and shoot, and the video turned out to be just one of those like surveillance videos. They just had that and they sold you that and they give you that. So like, great. So we got the video and we started watching maybe 2 days later, and we're like, ah, this is awful, just watching ourselves in the video, and we never watched it. We've been married for like 10 years. It's so embarrassing. So I'm going to be reading on the computer so that I don't see myself reading, because then I'll get embarrassed. Yeah, so maybe because we have Kristen and Sam here, I may get started with one poem, but if people come, there'll be other poems for them. So that works. I think that works, right, guys? So you don't wait forever. All right. So I'm going to read a poem called Line, and it's kind of my introduction poem, so I read it a lot. So Line. I inherited from my mother the knobbly joints and square ends of my fingers. From my father, I got the habit of biting my nails. The shortness, the frayed missing skin had never bothered me. But now I have a son, and he has begun to bite too. In America, I learned that one can snap a rubber band against one's wrist each time one's hand reaches up toward the mouth. By the back of my hand, the rubber band disappears into the color of my skin, but when I turn and face the inner side, it is a clear division of my body. The first time I saw a cotton tree, I found it beautiful. The cotton so white in its brown cradle, so soft against the square tips of my fingers. I squeezed the dead flower around it and felt joy from hearing it crackle. As children, we had cups full of sugar cane. We chewed on it and spit out the bagasse. Toothless man ran the knobbly stalks through a machine. The juice trickled into our glasses, and the flat piece that came out on the other side was put through it again until everything was gone. The dry split stalk thrown into a pile, limp like blonde hair. When I first arrived in America, I didn't understand what people meant when they said, with an American accent, that they were Irish or Italian or French. Now that I understand, I asked my mother for a family tree. She said she had never thought of such things, and she wouldn't know much past her grandmother's first name. So what I have is my memory of the faces of my relatives and my own. When I first arrived in America, all I could see was beauty. The snow, fine like sugar, white like cotton. But now, all of it, the beauty, the land, the tired metaphors, just make me sad. Before I left for America, I saw an individual in the mirror. But today, I see my father, my mother, my brothers, my son, and a man missing skin from tears on his back, and the man who did it. When I looked this morning, I tugged on my rubber band so hard that it broke. That was my first one. All right, guys. So good. So I guess I will just keep going. So yeah. So yeah, this next poem is called Space Time, after space time. While I lie on these high thread count white sheets, my mother in the hospital births me, childless conceives me, and a child herself in the dirt, in the capim, by the casinha, in Ibicuí she returns, grown up and marveling at how small the house is, how it is big enough, how she lives there as a girl with 9 surviving siblings, and her mother stands by the gates of heaven, of her house, and her mother lies in death, in her laboring bed, pushing her first, her second, her last breath, child. Oh, okay, Kristen. So I don't know. I look good, like not fuzzy, as in not fuzzy, but I'm right here and there's no connection involved. So I don't know. Anybody else fuzzy? You getting a fuzzy connection? No. All right. So, but thank you so much for being here, Kristen. It's so cool. You're the best roommate. All right. So I think, yeah, I'll read the PB&J one. So, because it relates to the other poems. So this one is called PB&J, which I make a lot of here in this kitchen. So very put together. PB&J. As a foreigner, my identity was against it by default. But later, as a mother, I was to make sandwiches. I turned away from my American child to hide a grimace as the knife slid on the oily surface, extracting a hanging grub, the mustard of dusty, old, mid-century velvet couches. I nagged my husband for separate utensils, fear of contamination. Then one day I was stranded, starving under a sleeping child, the sandwich still under my chubby fingers, bitten under his chubby fingers, bitten only once, about to fall. I moved my free arm, closed my eyes as survivors on TV, brought it to my lips, and bit it. Sweet swirls swimming in fat, thick, creamy fat, fromage de meaux, unpasteurized, beautiful body of butter. The jelly sandwiches of the past were the ones meant only for children. Dry and bodiless, the superficial joy of chips from a vending machine. As I prepared to bite again, more than in that citizenship swearing ceremony earlier that month, I felt as an American. Let's see how you guys doing. All right. Nice. Okay. So yeah, the PB&J poem I wrote soon after I got my citizenship, which is a different time. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's going on today some of it was already going on, but it, you know, becoming a citizen was a little bit more innocent for me at the time. It's a lovely thing. This one I wrote later, and it's after John Ashbery's 37 haiku poem, where each stanza on his 37 haiku is a haiku, so they can be seen as either one poem or 37 little poems. But the form here is almost a haiku for each of the stanzas, but it's actually in the American sentence form of Allen Ginsberg, which is just 17 syllables, sentences with 17 syllables. And it's called 7 American Sentences. In the beginning were people who lived here before. In the beginning of spring, spirits hovering over the waters. The vault, evening, morning, sky, the second day after a shooting. Body, let it serve as a sign to mark times and days and years. Correction, George Washington's teeth were never made of wood. In the beginning of the end, missing signal for lane change. And on the 7th day, same thing again, only some rested. So that was 7 American sentences. Oh no! I don't know, maybe like, no, it looks good. So it's not my camera because it looks good to me. So it's like maybe my connection. Uh, Connection looks good in terms of the bars, but I don't know. Is the sound good? Maybe it's good that it's fuzzy. But you guys can hear, maybe. Hopefully it's just a picture. Sorry, guys. Hope it doesn't look fuzzy forever. All right. And I don't know. I don't know any technical advice. I will just keep going and just let's pretend it's part of the thing. Okay. So, all right. So this poem is a little bit longer, so bear with me. I remember, I think it was Kristen, maybe it was Kristen if she's okay with it, or maybe it was somebody else, saying about how like in poetry readings it's much easier because if you tune out you can tune back in. So this one is one of those long ones, but if you tune out I think it's easy to tune back in. And I wrote it after I went on a flight, and my son was watching that movie Ice Age, one of them, and those movies freak me out so much. Like I cannot watch those movies. I get so freaked out. I'll talk about why in the poem. And it's also around the time when the seed bank that was keeping on the seas in the world or something was breached by melting ice. Since then, they fixed that situation, but it's an ongoing problem, as we know. And it's called In-Flight Entertainment While the Doomsday Sea Bank is Breached. My son's face is blue with the soft light of ice, age falling on his round cheeks, the voices in the animation contained by the cups of his child-sized earphones, muffled by the shush of turbines, so constant, so similar to the soothing sound of waves, we forget the aggression of their volume. On the screen, the body of a desperate little mammal is repeatedly crushed by gravity, the creature still in a spaceship, unable to reach the nut as its head is smashed between two stainless steel plates, its eyes bulging out of their sockets, and my son laughs. He understands what is expected of him now. In this type of movie, there are always good guys who always win. When we walked in the dim amber light in the Natural History Museum, surrounded by bones, we were told we were the sole survivors, the lonely branch of the human family tree, due to a superb adaptability, and we chose to differentiate ourselves from the dead with a postfix, sapiens. The picture of the global seed vault in the Arctic made me think of architecture and the architect who said, "A vida é sopro," life is a breath. At that speed, the floor of the poet's green room is damp, now wet, now water covers the wrought iron feet of the bed where she sleeps with her lover. And water fills the Natural History Museum, and we float above the tallest of bone structures, our heads tilt against the ceiling as we drink from the mouth of a whale, the last sliver of air. And I hum and hold my son's hand and think of the cow carcasses in the drought-cracked soil of my mother and father's northeast. The walls in China, Germany, Palestine, the barbed wire wall around my mother's condominium, and the futile future walls sprout one after another in an accelerating stop-motion video, then blur, then crumble. And soon there'll be no need for green, camouflaged uniforms. Gone will be the beautiful armaments celebrated in the old news. Gone is music. Gone is the green of money and the green of poetry. Gone were the pennies in museums. Mathematics gone. Long gone have been architecture and those seeds in the abandoned coal mine in the Arctic. On the colorless surface of the moon, imprinted in its sterile dust, undisturbed by wind or water, there will always remain a footprint. But for now, I turn my screen to a map of our journey, our airplane, tiny, surrounded by blue. All right, good time to check on the technical problems. All right, so let me see what's going on. All right, join. All right, when clear. Okay, all right. Oh no. Oh, thank you so much, Katie. All right, so maybe it looks a little fuzzy, but you guys can hear me, so that's good. Thank you so much, guys, for your patience. And hopefully I pressed all the right buttons and I didn't inadvertently press the fuzzy button or something. All right, so I think I would just read one more poem, and then I think that's right. All right, so since we read sad poem, I'll read another sad poem, and then we'll have a happy conversation after. So this one is When They Come for Us on the 7 Train. Past the underground tracks, the railroad rises. Our eyes adjust to the sun over Jackson Heights. At the platform, the doors slide open and the winter comes in with a man in their dark uniforms. Silence except for the please. Stand clear of the closing doors. The weight of their boots sways the car, and I raise my hand towards the pole. But one of the men grabs my wrist, and I feel the cold of his black gloves against the grooves of my tendons. The cold crosses my skin. The cold mixes with my blood. The cold travels in my veins to my fingertips, to my elbow, and my other hand lets go of my son before the cold reaches him too. I say I'm an American citizen. The soft tissue in my mouth cracks with frost. I say it louder. I'm an American citizen, and the frozen edges of the words scratch as they move through my throat. I shout, I'm an American citizen, and reflected on the man's visor, I see my face. I think of my son if they take me. I think of my son if they don't, as he watches me whisper, I'm an American citizen, while the others are taken by the men of ice. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So that was the poetry part. Thank you so much for, sitting with me. I hope things are not too fuzzy. Sam, am I doing the things that I'm supposed to, like technically? I hope so. All right, good, good, good. Oh, thank you so much. You're so nice, thank you. Oh, look at all the little thingies coming on. So yeah, so the cool thing about these videos, I think they just stay on. So it's cool, like you can watch this later, or there's also the previous videos, which are also awesome. We'll see if the video that stays is fuzzy or not. So yeah, so I think what's going on now is I just stay for a little bit and chat, and I think people can ask questions, any types of questions, about poetry or whatever, home decor, pajamas. So yeah, so that's it. Let me see if I can see any. All right. Da, da, da. Nice. Oh, I see more peeps. Oh, nice. Hi, Carrie. Okay. Oh, great. Okay. So, thank you so much, Katie. All right. I saw that you have a degree in linguistics. Aha. Um, oh, how fun. So you also studied linguistics and teach intro linguistics to undergrads, which I did a bunch too. It was really fun teaching intro linguistics. Um, I think linguistics, so I write poetry and fiction, definitely closer to the poetry side. I think one of the things is with sound, mostly in revision, I understand, when I'm doing, I understand a little bit, as you probably, do from also your linguistics training of, how sounds are different or similar. So, when I'm revising an alliteration, I know thing, you know, consonants that are back. So I know that a ka and a ga are similar, more than instinctively. I know how the sounds work in your mouth. And that comes more in revision, I think, when I'm cleaning things up or switching things around. Another thing that it does is it just makes me not fear syntax and have that attitude that is like against the prescriptive, so if people talk about syntax, poets, um, I know what's going on in syntax because my specialty was syntax, and I think the way it's most relevant is more that I'm confident on doing things that are not proper or something because I understand. I see language the way a linguist does in terms of I don't think certain varieties are wrong, if you know what I mean. But yeah, some semantics going, but I think that's the main two things. All right, Sam, what are you currently reading? So right now, what am I reading? I'm reading Bolaño. I'm reading. All right, I'll go. I'll answer Sam's and I'll go to the next one. Very easily distracted. All right, so I'm reading a book that 2666 by Bolaño, which is so long, but I love, love, love it. Um, it's just very trippy. Um, I'm reading also I'm reading Lots of Clarice Lispector, so that's in the fiction side. I'm reading Blood by Rachel McKibben because she's coming to New York next week. It's a great book. Um, I have just written, I have just read Nathaniel Mackey's uh, the one that got the big prize, and I love it. That's about it, I think. There's probably something else. I like reading a lot of things at that time. Um, all right, so let's see, what else do we have here? Oh my gosh, thank you, Christine, for the question. So, yes, what led you away from fiction toward poetry? When we met and we were roommates, I was doing a fiction thing and she was doing a poetry thing. And then the same summer she helped me with the poetry thing, which was so great. So I am still doing fiction. I'm actually doing an MFA for fiction now. But I just write more poetry even during the MFA. So I think I really started, you know, in the world as a fiction person, like the way I present myself and even to myself. But I would write these stories, and the only good thing on these particular stories were like 2 lines. And I was trying to write a whole story around it. And I'm like, wait a second, I just want these 2 lines. I don't want any of these things. And I understood that I was actually writing poetry. So I started very much from lines that came to me as I was trying to write fiction. And I do think that uh, poetry starts more naturally to me than fiction. Fiction I love and I have to write it, but I have to put more, I have to push myself a little bit more. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. Books that I read on a yearly basis. I would love to do that. That sounds like a wonderful thing, and it sounds like I should The question is there any books that I read on a yearly basis? I would love to do that. I think that sounds like something I should do. I think in the last couple of years, I have been so frantic with everything. And I think, from, so my kid now is 6, so I think that's a much nicer, I mean, it's still very busy, but it's more, things are more possible now. So just have been like catching up, and I don't return as much to the same books. I have in the last couple of years, weirdly enough, returned to Ben Lerner's thing because I'm doing something. I want to do something similar in fiction, but it's a purely sort of methodical thing that I'm looking at what he's doing. But no, I don't have at the moment something that I go back yearly. I am reading now things that I've read before, but it's been a long time, like Clarice Lispector, for example. All right, cool. These questions are good, guys. All right, I see you're as a photographer. Nice. Do you see that as separating you artistically or even politically, or do you see that it's closely related to your creative writing? Yeah, so I think, thank you. Yeah, so I think my photography, it feels closer to poetry than anything else. Um, I have not been very political with my photography, which I have been much more with both fiction and poetry. I think it's because I find it, I think because I found it, I still haven't gotten a project that I thought works yet. Um, Photography, it's usually very little things. I think it relates to my poetry more in terms of the kind of feeling and the size of the story that I'm telling with the photograph, but thematically it doesn't it doesn't relate as much. But now I'm looking, oh, let's see, I'm looking at this. This photo is called Line, and it's related to the poem, the first poem I read. But the rest, I don't think relate to anything. I'm thinking of doing like some poems responding to the photography and try to get them to relate that way, because I did want to do that. But yes. Thank you so much, guys, for the questions. All right. So how are you guys doing? I mean, good. Thank you for all the questions. Nice. Yeah, yeah, it feels similar that way. All right. This is great. Um, yeah. So anybody has any other questions or anything? I'm just chatting. We'll finish soon. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for the questions. Let me just see if I didn't miss anything. So sweet. All right. Nice. Oh, Hadaz, you're there too. It's so great. So my writing group, the mom's writing group, the famous mom's writing group that all my friends hear about. All right. Nice. All right. Let's see. Oh, look at all these things. Somebody's angry. The little things coming around. All right. Oh, nice. Okay, great. So I think I'll pick out another poem and then finish. But I think let me just look for it because I kind of read the ones that I was going to read. But why not read another one? And then we'll finish. Ta-ta-ta. I'll read this one. It's kind of like a twin for the line poem that I read first. So there's some things that are similar because they're in conversation. And it's called Arroyo. And just a background for it, the letter A, I heard that came from the head of a cow. I don't know if that's true. I think it is, but it's called Arroyo. They say that the first letter of my name evolved from a picture of a carcass, uma cabeça de vaca. My neighbor says not to let my son sleep on our bed with us, but I do. I understand the terror at night. I am haunted by carcasses of my great great grandparents, dry in the drought cracked soil of the Northeast, in the bones they inhabit on my bed. In America, I learned that arroyos are paths created by the rain, but I already knew. At night, the cracked soil calls for me, as cabezas de vaca of my greats, calling and calling. I tell them, I don't know you, but I do. When I'm out at night, I see a bifurcation solidified in calcium. I follow the city's spine. They tell me not to walk in certain of the oranges after dark. And I tell them, what am I supposed to do? Float? In America, they eat the bagasse of oranges, and they say my name means bliss. I am in love with bone, white concrete. The spine of the city sits fleshless and free of scales. Flexible bones that can bend and bend and keep bending and keep bending and bending, bending right up until they snap. All right, and that was my last poem. All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for coming and for the wonderful questions. And thank you, I forgot like to say that right in the beginning. Thank you so much, Poets in Pajamas and Sam and everybody. This is just wonderful that you guys do and a lot of fun. And thank you everybody for coming. And thank you. And yeah, so I think I will probably go unless anybody has any questions. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.